Hello YouTube, this is AI781 and today we're going to be doing a review on the MSR Pocket Rocket stove. I actually purchased the MSR Pocket Rocket stove because I discovered that I had a false sense of security of actually boiling water and using with the use of a sterno and this little pop out fold open stove here. I really did have a false sense of this will be adequate. But after further testing it and actually trying to use it, I just completely discovered it's a waste of time and a waste of money. I bought this little folding stove for about $9, and then I bought a extremely large pack of these sternos from like Sam's Club for like $15, and then this was like $9, and that was basically $25 wasted because I can't simply cook anything with it. I can only warm stuff up, and I thought that'd be the concept because I've used sternos long before this whole emergency preparedness, but I've only used them in the capacity of just for buffet style heating up food. And I could probably heat up a can of soup or something with this, but that's just simply not adequate in an emergency situation, whether it's an extended power outage or whether you're just backpacking or camping. So this waste of time and money. It's even got dust on it because it just sits somewhere and it's not utilized at all. So I actually changed up and I kind of made my own little cooking system here. Basically, I have this little pot. Comes open as such. Open it up, and inside we have what we're doing a review on today, which is actually going to be the MSR Pocket Rocket. This stove retails for about $40. I've seen it on Amazon for $39.95. Actually, that's who I ordered mine through. It uses a propane/butane mixture, and these are actually the recommended canisters for it. These come in, from my understanding, 4 ounce and 8 ounces. You're not supposed to use anything larger than 8 ounce with this particular stove. But upon my initial impression of the stove was, man, this thing's tiny. So it's basically just a regulator with some little prongs on it for you to attach your pot. So I was like kind of concerned about it, but I was really pleased with the actual fold up size and the fact that I could just stick this in here and I have a cooking source, and this is literally a very small container package, as you can tell. And I like that it's red because that kind of stands out in in the outdoor environment. Red's not a normally naturally occurring color, so it's really easy to find this in your pack, and it may even be pretty visible at night once you shine a flashlight around. So this is actually what you get. You do get a few instruction booklets that are in a few different languages, but basically that's it. That's just the stove itself there. What we're going to do now, we're actually going to take it outside. I'm going to bring this pot with me. I'm going to put some water in it, and we're going to see how long it takes the MSR Pocket Rocket to bring the water to a boil. Okay, we're actually outside now, so we're in a safe environment to actually practice, so I can show you how the stove operates. And there may be a bit of trial and error. I've only used this stove about 2-3 times, so if I make a mistake, there's going to be some choppy editing going on. So basically, you take the regulator and you begin to screw it onto the container. Obviously, be very careful not to cross-thread it. Now, there's a little rubber gasket on the bottom of the actual stove itself to kind of prevent any gases from seeping out. I try to make this as tight as possible. I think you're supposed to make it tight, even though the manual says don't make it overly tight. I think that's as tight as it's going to be able to go. You actually open up the stove, like so. So that's what you'll be looking at. We have approximately 2 cups of water in that little quite cool camping pot that you saw. So we're going to try to heat that up and see if this works. See if we can get it going here. We got some, you can clearly hear the gas. Use fire seal, try to light it. It's new fire steel too, so there we go. I say that's about the type of flame that I'd like for this. So I'm just gonna set our, there we go. Set our water on top. We're gonna time this. So right now we're at 0. Where's start? There's start. And we'll see how long it takes for the water to boil. I'm actually going to go ahead and cut out, and when it starts boiling I'll start it back up and I'll leave the clock running. Right now we're 2 minutes and about 20 seconds in, and we see some bubbles actually forming in there. It's not quite a boil yet, but it's actually going pretty well. I'm going to try to lower the camera now so you guys can see the flame going on down there. Nice pretty little flame we got going there. The water is definitely steamy. It's actually slowly starting to get bubbles. So now this is at a moderate burning of the fuel. This isn't a very high rate of burning fuel right now. As you notice, when I cut it back, when I first turned it on, it was actually burning a lot more fiercely. But obviously you want to try to conserve your fuel in an emergency situation. So in some cases it's best to definitely use fuel in moderation. Panning it back up here. Alright. Get us back in a good position. There we go. You see the water, it's actually, look like it's getting ready to come to a roaring boil, and we are 3 minutes and 44 seconds into it, and yeah, it's actually we're pretty much there. Let me see if I can tip the camera over a bit so you guys can kind of see what I'm seeing. And we are 4 minutes exactly into the experiment. And water is coming to a nice boil, very nice boil. I'd say pretty soon that water is going to be very safe to drink if you were concerned about it prior. And that's, you know, so with the MSR Pocket Rocket, it's pretty clear that you can cook with it. It's adequate. The fuel for it isn't actually that expensive. I feel I overpaid. I paid $5 a container for the fuel mixture. You can obviously get them cheaper. I bought them at Sports Authority, and they're kind of an overpriced retailer anyway. But now, yep, the water's at a full roaring boil. So here you go. In under 5 minutes, we have water that's at a roaring boil. I would never be able to get that with a sterno. So we're going to go back inside and we're going to continue the review. Alright guys, so we're back inside and we saw how the stove performed. Actually performed really well. As you can see, we managed to boil about 2.5 cups of water in under 5 minutes to bring it to a roaring boil, which is actually the what you want to get to the point where it's actually hot enough to start the purification process. So, I mean, obviously you saw it's an awesome stove. Everything works on the stove. There's only really one con about this stove, and that's this: the fuel source. While they work, and they do work great, it's actually kind of hard to find this in stores. I actually bought the stove originally because you could find this type of fuel at Walmart and Kmart's and stuff, but it was actually the Coleman brand, but it was the same mixture. It wasn't just propane. It's like a butane mixture of fuel. I believe it's a mixture of butane and propane, something along those lines. But there was the Coleman brand, and you could buy it at Walmart. Well, Walmart stopped carrying that particular Coleman stove, so they stopped carrying that fuel as well. So now this has actually become a little bit harder to find than originally planned when I bought the stove. So when I bought the stove, they had it, and then like less than a month later, they stopped carrying it. So I was a little disappointed. Another thing is, because of that, other retailers are able to charge a fairly high price. This is $4.99 for one of these. And like I said, I mean, you can't get it at a local store. I had to get this at Sports Authority. The only places I found that carried the fuel are places like Sports Authority, Dick's Sporting Goods, and so on and so forth. Obviously, sporting goods specific stores. So it makes it a bit harder to go out and find it than it normally would any other propane cooking device or stove. Coleman actually has their own and I'm pretty sure MSR has one as well. But it's the propane cooker that takes the much taller canisters. And I actually ordered that type of stove because of the deficiency I'm having with getting canisters for this stove. And those canisters are actually a lot cheaper. Well, this is $5. The canisters that are this tall are like about $3. However, obviously, that's not going to be a compact fuel source as this is. And you know, this is mainly meant for people who go on day hikes and camping and stuff. It's really not meant for, well, it's not marketed as an emergency stove, although that's how I would mainly use it and envision it being used. A stove that I place in a bug out kit, which is actually where this stove resides at. But if you're a one person and all you need to do is cook for one person in an emergency, even if you have to cook for a family and you need something, definitely go with this. It's a good option. Only thing you're going to suffer with is the fuel canisters. But since I ordered that Coleman stove, I'm going to be making a review on that, and we'll see how it stacks up to the stove as performance, because it may not. Even though it'll have a bigger canister, we're not sure if the performance will match the MSR Pocket Rocket. So that's going to be another test we're going to actually have to do when I get that other stove. But as stated, it works fine. Brings water to boil at a decent amount of time. You're not going to be sitting around waiting all day. It's definitely a much better option than this whole gimmick of using a sterno inside a foldable stove. That's just a gimmick. Don't fall for it. I did, and this is an advanced warning to those. If you see something like this and you think it's going to help you in an emergency, run away. The only thing this is going to do is maybe keep the food warm that you've already cooked. But for you to actually have cooked food, you'd actually have to have a way to cook it. And that's where this comes back into play. I mean, this stuff is good if you're going to keep the food warm, but let's face it, in an emergency or in a camping scenario, you're not really trying to preserve the food forever. You're trying to just cook enough for you to eat. You're not trying to have leftovers. Well, that said, let's go ahead and pack it back up so you guys can actually keep the stove the same way you saw me unpack it in its canister. I actually stick it in this pot, which I boil the water in, and I'll throw in the fire steel in there too. Put the top on, close it up. Close it up the right way. And my stove and contents are, so I have my stove, a way to strike the stove, and the pot with the lid, all in one neat little container. And then the fuel source is about the same size roughly. Technically I could just stick the fuel source in there and have everything else separate, but I just prefer having all the little stuff in here. So that said, I recommend buying it. Just keep in mind this is going to be the only downfall is the fuel cylinders. If you want something that's more common, you might want to try that Coleman stove, but I'm going to be doing a review on that as well, and we'll see how it stacks up against the MSR system. So with that said, this is that guy 7A1 signing out. Please feel free to subscribe for more gear reviews, gun reviews, etc. Thanks for watching.